very soon, probably this upcoming week, we might be finally getting that declassified version of the new UFO report. Anyway, I'm going to read a little section here from, this is from Whitley Strieber's website. Whitley Strieber, of course, is a noted author. He's someone who has had his own experiences with extraterrestrials and actually wrote some books on this, including a very famous book called Communion. And his website is called unknowncountry.com. And I'm just going to read a little bit of this article that he put together here. The classified version of the Pentagon's annual report on unidentified aerial phenomena was delivered to lawmakers earlier this week, with the declassified version expected to be released to the public in the coming days. Prior to the report's delayed release, various insider sources discussed some of the contents of the document with the New York Times and the Daily Mail, disclosing that nearly half of the 366 UAP reports collected over the course of the investigation remain unresolved. This is the second major report produced by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, ODNI, following the June 2021 delivery of the preliminary assessment on identified aerial phenomena. This year's report is the first mandated by the Intelligence Authorization Act for fiscal year 2022 and was received by the Armed Services, Appropriations, Foreign Affairs or Relations and Intelligence Committees of both the House and Senate. The 22-page report states that 150 of the 366 cases investigated by the UAP Task Force, currently called the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or ARROW, remain unresolved, suggesting that roughly 2 out of every 5 encounters reported involved something that could not be identified. However, the Times' anonymous source said that many of the unresolved cases were from older reports that didn't offer enough information to properly identify the phenomena involved. Now, the rest of it we've gone over. This is it gets into the New York Times article where anonymous sources from the Pentagon were trying to downplay it, and then it gets to the Daily Mail article where an anonymous source from the Pentagon was trying to upplay it. So it's. What we're going to get this report, it looks like. We're going to get this. So basically, the Congress has received this 22-page classified report, which I think should just be released to the public, But anyway, we're going to get a declassified one, and basically we'll get to look at this report, and they'll be, they're going to talk about 366 cases, and they're going to say, well, half of them we figured out what they are. It's clutter in the air like balloons or Chinese spy drones, and the other half, about 140 other cases, we don't know what they are. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I would say a percentage. There's definitely a percentage of these things, of these objects that will be included in this report that are extraterrestrial. They're extraterrestrial in origin. There's going to be a percentage. Let's just say out of that 366 objects that they're talking about here, I would say that 20% are unexplainable. And probably within that 20%, maybe 18%. I'm just making these numbers up because I don't know, but I'm just doing what the Pentagon does for the most part. Like they'll just, even though they have no idea, like they told the New York Times, even though the other half of the objects, they say if they had more data on those objects, that they would know. They would know they would be able to identify them. Yeah, okay. If you had more data on those objects, then you would be able to identify them as extraterrestrial. Some of them. I would say about, there's definitely a percentage. I'm not sure what the percentage is. I'm just saying, right? But there's definitely a percentage among these objects that will be included in this report that are completely not human made. They're not clutter, and they're not Chinese spy drones, or they're not flying fish. They're not birds. Some of these objects that will be talked about in this report are extraterrestrial craft. It's just a fact. Although our government officials are still hesitant to make that kind of a statement. They will be at some point. At some point, they'll have no choice but to make those kind of statements. But yeah, there are definitely vehicles that they're experiencing, because we could tell. We know this. We just know this for a fact. I mean, look at what David Fravor talked about, what he experienced in 2004. There's no way that was a man-made. We can't make objects like what that Tic Tac was doing. We just can't. Okay. The gimbal object that a lot of debunkers try to debunk all the time, right? It's a flying saucer. You see it with your own eyes. That's what it is. It's a flying saucer. There's no visible means of propulsion on it, right? So there's a percentage of these objects that are going to be in this report that are actually extraterrestrial. But they're not going to say that. No one in Congress is probably. Some Congress members might, hint that it could be. You'll hear some of stuff like that, but you're not going to hear people from the military saying that. The people in the Pentagon, that are basically the front men for the people in Majestic 12. It's really not though. They're basically the middlemen. These guys in the Pentagon that are basically, trying to work with the Congress right now. I would imagine that they're not part of Majestic 12, and maybe one or two or might be. I mean, who knows? We don't know. But we know that these people lie in the Pentagon when it comes to the UFO situation. In fact, I came up with an article, something that's still on the Air Force website, the United States Air Force website. I'll leave a link for this. You got to see it to believe it. It's hard to believe that it's still on here. Actually, after everything that's been going on over the past 5 years, it's really hard to believe that they leave something like this on here, because it's actually really embarrassing, because it's filled with lies. And it's about unidentified objects, flying objects, and the Air Force's Project Blue Book, which was a study that went on from basically that ended in 1969, that studied UFOs. But I'm just going to read some of this, and we'll go through the lies that are told here. It says here, from 1947 to 1969, the Air Force investigated unidentified flying objects under Project Blue Book. The project, headquartered at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, was terminated December 17, 1969. Of a total of 12,618 sightings reported to Project Blue Book, 701 remained unidentified. Now, for one thing, they made a mistake here. It was Project Blue Book did not start in 1947. It didn't start until the early 1952, I believe. It was from 1952 to 1969. In 1947, 48, there was a Project Sign, and then that was followed by a Project Grudge, and then Project Blue Book. But anyway, that's just a minor little fib. We'll get to the bigger fibs later on here. The decision to discontinue UFO investigations was based on an evaluation of a report prepared by the University of Colorado entitled Scientific Study of Unidentified Flying Objects, a review of the University of Colorado's report by the National Academy of Sciences, previous UFO studies, and Air Force experience investigating UFO reports during 1940 to 1969. As a result of these investigations, studies, and experience gained from investigating UFO reports since 1948, the conclusions of Project Blue Book were: 1. No UFO reported, investigated, and evaluated by the Air Force was ever an indication of threat to our national security. That's an absolute lie. Let's just stop right there. That's an absolute lie. Okay, but before we get to that, I just want to talk about that University of Colorado study. Basically, that was headed by a scientist named Edward Condon. Condon had no interest in UFOs. He was the one who came. He had final say on whether or not it was worthy of investigating. And even though there were people who within that group that said that there was a lot of unidentified cases here that we don't know what they are, and they deserve further scientific study, even though there was people saying that. Condon, I think he was, in cahoots with the Air Force on this, because the Air Force wanted to get out of the business of working with, of looking into citizen reports of UFOs. So we're just going to get that out of the way. So that report in a way was bogus. And the report had a lot of great information in it, but the conclusion that was penned by Condon was a bunch of nonsense, bogus. He should have suggested that it needs further scientific study. But anyway, this first thing here that the Air Force is saying, the first conclusion: no UFO reported, investigated, and evaluated by the Air Force was ever an indication of threat to our national security. That's an absolute lie. There's still a threat to their national security. In fact, look at what they're saying right now. They don't know if they're a threat. After all these years, they still don't know. They knew that they're always a threat. That's just lip service. That was just lip service to the public here. And it's hard to believe. Again, you think they'd be embarrassed by this statement and to leave this up on their website. Wow. And then the second one here, the second conclusion. There was no evidence submitted to or discovered by the Air Force that sightings categorized as unidentified represented technological developments or principles beyond the range of modern scientific knowledge. That's an absolute outright lie. there was a tons of reports in there that they obviously represented technological developments beyond the principles, beyond the range of modern scientific knowledge. I mean, just for instance, I just was talking earlier about the Lonnie Zamora incident. That was one of the things that Project Blue Book looked into. They didn't have any explanation for it. It was obviously not beyond the range of our scientific development. We don't have things that could fly around like that with no sound. Anyway, it's again another lie. And then the third one here was, there was no evidence indicating that sightings categorized as unidentified were extraterrestrial vehicles. That's a lie. That's a lie. Now, for one thing, the people on Blue Book, they didn't know how to have access. I mean, in a way, it's like a half lie. It's a partial lie. Right, because those people weren't privy to the extraterrestrial information. Of course, that stuff that's above top secret. That's Majestic 12 kind of stuff. Majestic 12 wasn't part of Blue Book. I mean, actually, according to other UFO researchers like the late Stanton Friedman, right, all the good reports, the really interesting reports, right, they didn't even go to Blue Book. They went to somewhere else where nobody ever heard about them again. That's someplace else was Majestic 12. So again, it's a half a lie, because Project Blue Book, but Project Blue Book didn't, they didn't find any evidence really of extraterrestrial, but really they did though. I mean, I guess really when you really think about it, they really did. I mean, again, the Lonnie Zamora case, that was extraterrestrial. There's no doubt about it. It was extraterrestrial. What else was it? They also they talked to other people in this. There were interviews with other people like the Hills, who were abducted in 1961. There was the Michigan 1966 case that were Hynek, J. Allen Hynek provided the absurd explanation of swamp gas. That was all extraterrestrial. All these objects were extraterrestrial. What else were they? They're not man-made. They're not these objects weren't made by humans. They're extraterrestrials. That's a lie. So they have this on here, and again, it's a very embarrassing. Anyway, let's read it more here. It says, with the termination of Project Blue Book, the Air Force regulation establishing and controlling the program for investigating and analyzing UFOs was rescinded. Documentation regarding the former Blue Book investigation was permanently transferred to the modern military branch, National Archives and Record Service, and is available for public review and analysis. Since the termination of Project Blue Book, this is a good one here. Since the termination of Project Blue Book, nothing has occurred that would support a resumption of UFO investigations by the Air Force. What are you talking about? We've been looking at it. Why is it still up there? Why is it still on this website? Why is this on the Air Force website? And as a fact sheet. Okay, given the current environment of steadily decreasing defense budgets, it is unlikely the Air Force would become involved in such a costly project in the foreseeable future. This whole thing is laughable. There are a number of universities and professional scientific organizations that have considered UFO phenomena during periodic meetings and seminars. A list of private organizations interested in aerial phenomena may be found in Encyclopedia of Associations published by Gale Research. Interest in and timely review of UFO reports by private groups ensures that sound evidence is not overlooked by the scientific community. Persons wishing to report UFO sightings should be advised to contact local law enforcement agencies. All of this is laughable. It's laughable because it's still up on their website. I mean, especially right now. I mean, we've been looking into this. We have the UFO offices looking into this, and plus that whole thing is filled with lies. Okay, I know. We talk about. Hey, I forgive the Pentagon. I forgive everyone everyone in the government for all the lies. I'm not gonna. I already know you're lying. I know they've been lying for a long time now, right? And we a lot of us know that they've been lying for a long time. But hey, even after everything comes out. When the truth is actually finally revealed, hey, I'm not gonna, point fingers or anything. I'll just be happy that it's finally released. It's understandable why it was initially held, but now we're over that now. But yeah, there's going to be a percentage of getting back to what we were talking about originally in this report that we're going to be getting in this week coming up. This declassified report. Some of these objects that they're going to be talking about will be that they don't know what they are. There's going to be a percentage of them that will be extraterrestrial craft. What that percentage is, I don't know. Who knows? 10, 20, 30. but a percentage of that. Okay, you have 366 objects. They're saying half of them have been identified. That leaves you with what, 143. So let's say 20% of that 143. I mean, so okay, maybe, I don't know. Let's just say 30 objects, 30, 40 objects are extraterrestrial, because there's some of these objects that they've been encountering are military officials, Navy flyers, Air Force flyers, some military officials on the ground. Some of these objects are obviously operated by extraterrestrials because they can do things that no other object that humankind could manufacture could do. So that's going to be the bottom line. But that part will not be stated publicly unless there might be some Congress people that that just say it. I guess they won't be able to say any of the classified. They won't be able to share any of the classified information because I guess the military could say, "Hey, you can't say that because that's that's national security," and Congress people might be compelled not to say anything. Right? That's very possible. But you know what? Hey, they're here. It's national security, national security, whatever. We need to know the truth here already, right? There's extraterrestrials here. Why don't you just come out? Why don't you just put in the report? How about you, instead of wording the report the way it's most certainly going to be worded? Why not just say these objects here could potentially be extraterrestrial? Why don't you just come out and say something like that? Be brave. That's the way to get this train going here. Let's see how the media reacts to something like that. Wouldn't that be something? Yeah, that other 50% of those 366, there could be 15, 20% that might be possibly extraterrestrial because we really don't know what the hell they're, they're just beyond any of our capacities that we've ever seen, because that's what it is. It's just common sense. It's, that's what it is. Just say it. Just say it.